and just doing shit is not like the biggest fate for everyone. That's why there are said blue collar jobs. Like they're just people who are better at doing shit than sitting in and kind of retaining information.
Yeah, and just because you don't do well at school does not mean that you're gonna be a bad worker. Period. Like
Yeah.
it, like I'm trying to get my words here, but like I know some really good people who are one of the hardest workers that I've ever met, but
Yeah.
none of them have a college degree, or
Yeah.
none of them did well in school. Hell, one of them was a high school dropout, but
Yeah. I mean,
they are some of the hardest workers, and they're pretty well off because they're willing to work.
yeah, but a lot of people now they just don't get that benefit because it's all focused on school. It's all about the the fucking connection. It's like, oh, you went to UNC or you didn't went to this school. It's like fuck off. Like just if you just give me this job, you'll see that I will be here on time. I will work here for you, and I will get the shit done. But just because I can't sit in a classroom and like retain for what some person is telling me doesn't mean I'm a bad worker or I'm a bad person or I'm stupid. It's just like I don't like to sit and just retain stuff. I like to do stuff.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, the the guy who I told you was a high school dropout, dude owns his own. Well, he started off with his own landscaping company, or it was him just going around mowing lawns and whatnot, making some money. Then he turned it into an actual landscaping company, and within 6 months of him dropping out of high school, not only did he have his own company, but he also had three people working under him as well.
Yeah, it's just like I don't understand this whole concept that you need like I could understand a basic education. I think everybody needs a high school degree or like a good amount of stuff because it's like that's at least a good level of education. But it's the matter of like like I don't feel like you need to go to college to get like a damn good career. A lot of people like especially like underdog stories. It's like you started from the bottom and you're at a high position because you put the work in and you were dedicated to what you do. And granted, it doesn't get you as far as like like you're not gonna be a billionaire like Jeff Bezos, but I mean it's like you make a decent living.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I don't know.
I mean, here in North Carolina, you can make a decent living if you can make at least 30,000. If you
Yeah,
can make
I mean
30,000, if you can make at least 30,000 a year, you can survive on that and you can make a living off that. But you got to
yeah,
be
I mean
willing to
just
put in the work. But
I just think a lot of it comes down to like a high school diploma is just not as valuable as what people give it credit for anymore. And that's kind of just a little sad to me because I mean it's just like talking about like 50 years ago, like a high school diploma was an actual accomplishment. But when I got my diploma, I just kind of didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. It's like, well, I don't have a associate's degree or bachelor's degree. I'm still not gonna get a career anywhere right now. And it's just like back in the day, I was like, I got my degree. I'm gonna basically go anywhere I want. But it just doesn't feel that same way now.
no, it really doesn't. And the fact remains is that public education, it kind of escalates this view of college, and it doesn't. They don't give you the the oversight of like blue collar jobs anymore. Like
Yeah.
for example, our high school. I'm not gonna. I won't mention the name, but our high school. They used to have shop class. They used to have architecture. They used to have the engineering society.
Yeah.
All that, but
Yeah.
but they got rid of all of it.
Yeah, it's all gone. Like all the arts programs are gone too. Like you can't go to theater anymore. You can't go do painting or ceramics. Like it's all gone because like people are just trying to push for like the whole go to college deal. But it's like no, you can do shit. And hold on, Jake. Okay. All right. I'll
But,
be off in a little bit.
but yeah, like I 100% agree with you. It's they're trying to push college, and they're neglecting the fine arts. They're neglecting your trades. They're neglecting your culinary. I mean,
Of
hell,
course, of course, you know why? Because that's where the money is. Going to college, fucking paying tuition, getting books. That's where money is at. They don't want to push you towards something that's like you can do on your own because I mean like they don't get credit for that. And I feel, and it's not necessarily the teacher's fault because I mean the teachers are right there. Like they went to college and they got a fucking bachelor's or a master's degree for something and they can't do shit with it. Like, especially in the state of North Carolina, we have like the lowest teacher pay ever. We're like 48 out of 50 states.
Yeah.
Like, the teachers are getting just as screwed over as we are. Like, they're given a limited number of resources and they're told, reach this quota or you're going to get penalized. It's like, well, that's not fair.
No, it's not.
That's not fair for them at all.
No, not by any means.
Especially like like if we're gonna like play devil's advocate here, there's just some people who are like they're just not meant to succeed. Like there's just people who like they give up, they don't care, they're just gonna do whatever the fuck they feel like, and that reflects badly on them because at the end of the day, the teacher has to reach that quota, and you have one dickhead who just doesn't want to care and they just want to smoke weed or like they just want to fucking like just be on their phone all day, and that's not the teacher's fault. That's just one person who doesn't care.
Like I'm a firm believer in one of the worst things that ever happened to public school systems was the No Child Left Behind thing. Now, I do see the point behind it. Don't get me wrong. I see the point behind it. But the implication of it was terrible because now you're introducing into standardized testing. For teachers aren't able to actually teach what they feel is necessary. They have to abide by a specific guideline that's actually set by federal guidelines, believe it or not.
That's always the plight of every teacher. They got to follow the curriculum. They always got to follow what's being told to them to teach.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I was told that in high school. Like, hey, I would walk up to like, I'm not going to mention names, but you remember our drafting professor or our drafting teacher.
Yeah.
I would ask him so many times if, hey, can we learn how to do this or can we learn how to do this? Because, he ran the engineering and technological society. So I would always ask him, hey, can we learn some of this in class? And he would always tell us, I really want to, but unfortunately I have to follow the curriculum. I'm not allowed to go outside of the curriculum because of the tests that I have to give. Yeah. And I honestly think that's part of the reason why our school systems don't perform as well anymore, is because you have all of this standardized testing that, of course, you got your bitchy standard moms who will come out there and bitch about something is too hard or too complicated for their child. Well, that's not the teacher's fault. Either A, there's something else going on. Like, for example, I'm not ashamed of it. I have ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So it was difficult for me to perform to certain degrees with certain classes because of what I had going on. And
I had the same thing when I was growing up. I was diagnosed with ADD, and I had to like do standardized stuff of like I had to take extra time on tests. I had to do reading comprehension outside of my base classes. I was a part of like the No Child Left Behind program. And like I think in a way it had a positive impact on me because like it did show me like, hey, you're not stupid. You just need to take extra time to do this. But like you got to take the good with the bad. On the good side, you do help kids who actually do need it. But on the bad side, you're giving those benefits to kids who they don't care. Like they're just, and for some of them, it's like not necessarily their fault. Maybe they come from a bad home or they come from somewhere where like education is not really like thought upon as a good thing or something you should really invest your time into. But like at the end of the day, it's like you have kids who need it, but it's also dragged down by the fact of like you have kids who don't necessarily need it and they're getting that benefit because like they're weighing everything down.
Yeah, like here's my thought on the whole thing. So if you have documented proof that you are qualified to receive said benefits, then okay, you need separate testing. Cool, you have separate testing. If you're struggling with material, guess what? There's tutoring. But I personally think that there should be a way to still implement the benefits for the No Child Left Behind program while still not restricting professors and teachers to a specific curriculum.
Yeah, you're right, but you know why they will never do that though? Because everything that you're talking about requires money, and that's something that is always like the matter of debate of like, well, how much is this going to cost to like do this and implement tutoring? And that's when everything starts to fall apart, is because at the end of the day, somebody has to pay with it, and no one's willing to really, like, perk up and say, like, look, I'll take this, or I'll do this, or, I'll put forth the extra effort. And, it's kind of back and forth. On one hand, yeah, there are people who they could definitely take a pay cut, or like the education system could actually be bothered to fork out some necessary money. But on the other hand, it's like, you just have teachers where they're scraping by. I mean, to ask them to do like more on top of what they're already doing it is kind of a lot to ask for them. That's honestly what it comes down to. Is like, these things will never happen because at the end of the day, they cost money, and that's not something people are willing to change.
I mean, that's whenever I go to question, because public schools, for high schools and whatnot, that's where tax dollars are supposed to go. So it makes me wonder, okay,
Yeah.
well, where are my tax dollars going for education?
Yeah.
But it kind of segueing backwards a little bit. It's just another reason why it burns me that trade things in high school are disappearing, because how are kids supposed to know what they like, what they don't like, what they're good at, what they're not good at, if they don't have the opportunity to try it,
Well, I will say this. Let's play devil's advocate with this. I feel like there is an aspect of it. Like, yeah, they could be shown that they like this, but I feel like a lot of kids, when they want to, when you remember, like, back in the day when you got asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Kids would say police officers, astronauts, nurses, doctors, like morticians, or, like, people would say a career. If you've kind of noticed, like, what are most kids saying they want to be now? They want to be YouTubers. They want to be streamers. They want to, like, like, do what, like, what you and I are doing right now. Like, a lot of kids nowadays, they don't want to be welders. They don't want to be mechanics. They want to be streamers and Discord moderators. They want to, like, just do shit on the computer. I mean, like that. It's kind of like how back in the day people wanted to be a game designer or be a game developer, and it's just kind of transitioning to that. Just people are wanting to do stuff that they kind of immediately like in the moment, and not like a future thing.
I mean, that's all well and good, but what if you're in the boat, like, playing devil's advocate again? What if you're in the boat like me, where, yeah, sure, I want to make a career out of this, okay, but at the same time, I also want to have a hobby that can make me money as well. So, I wouldn't have known that I could make decent money at blacksmithing or anything like that until I actually started. I was given the opportunity to learn. I was given the opportunity to learn the trade. I was allowed to see if I even liked it. And now it's something that I love doing. I don't always have the opportunity to do it because of my current situation, but it's something I love doing. I love crafting, and I can make a good amount of money on it. But I wouldn't have known that had I not been given the opportunity to even try it.
Well, here's the thing. Going back to it, is that a lot of what you're saying is right, but a lot of what you're saying is kind of based off of what if. Well, what if there are people who are interested in this and we take it away? Well, what if there's other people who invested in this? And again, it goes back to money. At the end of the day, when you have a budget that you have to adhere to, you're not going to put money into something that is only going to be successful on what ifs. You want something to be successful based on, like, hard evidence. Like, we need this because of this, and we need this. Like, they can't just keep a program open, or they can't just keep something open based off of, well, what if there are people interested in it? Or what if, like, someone gets interested in it? And even if you do have a handful, are you going to keep the whole thing open for like 5 or 6 people when you have like 800 other students that kind of need that money for either science or math or like the main programs? At the end of the day, it's a no-brainer. Like, I agree with what you're saying, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is what if. It's not absolutes.
All right, so then why do they keep open the police academy, the EMS academy, and the fire department, the fire academy, when most of those...
You're breaking up really bad. I can't hear you.
So what I was asking was, why keep open the police academy, the fire academy, and the EMS academy whenever most of those people, at least as far as our school went, most of those kids were the kids who didn't want to do anything or were the troublemakers. Now, not all
Yeah.
of them. Not all of them. There were some
Yeah.
people who were actually serious in them. One of them was actually a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
But
One of them was also me.
but
I went to Skills USA with the police academy.
right. But a bunch of those people, let's be honest, at least half didn't complete the course or even try.
Yeah.
So why keep those open but disregard a bunch of the others? I mean,
Well,
let's be honest. Even if somebody didn't make a career out of it, I would argue that having a culinary class in a high school is probably one of the most important things you could ever ask, that you could ever provide for a person in a school, because it
Yeah.
teaches a person how to cook for themselves and not relying on fast food.
Yeah, like they never taught. There was never a class besides like home ec in middle school that taught me like, here's how you do laundry. Here's how you make spaghetti. Here's how you basically keep an eye on basic finances. Like there was never a class that taught you like, okay, here are basic living skills that you actually need in order to survive.
Yeah,
There was never stuff like that. But
dude,
to go back to
I would have loved a class that would have taught me how to, balance a bank account,
yeah,
or teach me how to properly file my taxes,
yeah,
or anything like that. Because now, without that knowledge, I had to pay somebody else to do my taxes for me and hope they did it right.
yeah.
So, I mean, I would love to have had classes like that in high school,
Yeah.
because living life now, that shit's not handed to you.
Yeah, no, you got to actually work for that, or you got to go to school for that. But it goes back to that thing about like like the fire academy and the police academy is like the only reason why I feel like a lot of those have stuck around is because of like the community sponsorships from that. Because like a lot of times like you would actually have firefighters who were like either volunteers or they were full timers come in and help. Like I mean, literally like, the dude who ran the police academy for like a while, like when it first started, Phil Patterson, he was actually a really good family friend of ours, and he was a police officer. Like he literally had a background in being an officer, and it was a really good benefit to have that because you actually had someone with hands-on benefit. But the only reason why these classes fail is because you don't have that interest in them, and you just shove all the other kids because it's like, well, they're anomalies, so we may as well like fill in the gaps where we can just to fill butts and seats. The only reason why they've kind of gotten as far as they have is just because of that, like the community sponsorships. Because I mean, it's not too far that there's a firehouse like like a few streets down from where Concord High School is, and like that makes real good like plentiful like job grounds to go up and snatch up a couple people who were like interested in it. But other places aren't that lucky.
Well, kind of jumping off of something you said about some of these kids are the anomalies, or just shoving them into a class or someplace.
Yeah.
And I'm not bashing on student athletes by any means, but do you remember the whole fiasco a couple years ago where colleges were getting lit up for basically pushing athletes through college with BS classes, and then when they're
Oh, absolutely. Because
basically what was happening was when they finished college and their college career was done, and they tried to pursue that athletic future, and then they fail, that degree that they had that was for whatever that their college tried to push them through is now worth nothing, because like a ton of people have it, and two, the qualifications in it are so widespread that it's basically useless.
Well, yeah, because I mean, again, you got to remember why would they do that? It's because at the end of the day, there's money in football. There's scholarship opportunities. There's sponsors. There's everything. You get people to watch. That's the only reason why it's done, is because at the end of the day, people care about sports. People want to watch sports, and people love getting money. And what brings in money to a college? Fucking athletics.
God, man.
And
You
I
don't.
mean, it's like the whole thing. It's like I want to. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to
No,
go ahead and get
go
this
ahead.
thought out before I forget about it.
Go
Was
ahead.
you remember how like a while back, like a lot of like professional athletes, like LeBron James, and like like a lot of these athletes were just trying to push kids, be like, hey, go to college, get a degree, and everything. And I think that's just like kind of like what it is. I feel like a lot of athletes, especially like pro athletes, they're kind of aware of this. Of like, when you're like a professional like football player or a basketball player, like you're not secure in your job at all because you could get an injury that fucks you up completely and you could be pretty much disbarred from it because it's like, well, I can't have you out there dribbling if like, you have like a bum leg or, like I can't have you on this like, the Patriots team anymore. You're like 70 years old. Like I can't get you like versus this 30-year-old. And I think
Absolutely.
that's why a lot of athletes were like, look, you need to get a degree because you're not secure in this occupation. There will come a day when you're not physically fit enough to do it, and you need something to fall back on. And it's also to say, like, look, there's also a good chance that you won't go pro, so it's good to have like a safety net. Like, yeah, you didn't go as far as you thought in college ball, but hey, you got a degree in business, so I mean, at least you have a future.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, and it's kind of like sad that because I watched a lot of these like on YouTube where it was like they were just trying to tell these kids like, hey, go get a degree in business. Like that's what a lot of us are doing. And you have those kids who's like, well, why do I need to get a degree when I could just be like you? I could just work really hard and get into it. And it's like they want to tell them the truth of like, look, I got extremely lucky in the position I'm in. Like everyone like looks at like someone like Michael Jordan. It's like, look, you made it. You got all the way to the top. You started from the bottom, but you don't see like the hundreds of other dudes that are right beside him that were in the same exact situation and they didn't make it.
Yeah,
Like I mean, for all these success stories, you don't see like the 99 other young boys who they worked just as hard as he did and they did everything that he did and they still didn't make it.
like, and unfortunately, that's just a fact of life. Is that you know
Yeah,
you can try your hardest, but there 9 times out of 10, there's always going to be someone better. And
Yeah.
if sometimes you don't make the cut, if you do, great. You keep pushing it. You keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
I'm not telling anybody, don't be, I'm not saying for anybody to be afraid of failure because failure is one of the best teachers out there. But
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of going back to that conversation we started off with, not everyone can be millionaires. Like, if everybody's millionaires, who's at the bottom buying the tickets or who's, like, helping everybody train? Like, if everybody's, like, in the position of, like, royalty, who's at the bottom doing all the other shit? Like, not everyone can, be that because I mean at the end of the day it's sad to say like and it's not as pessimistic as it sounds but there need to be people on the bottom there need to be people who are like like basketball coaches who are actually like training that next generation or there needs to be people like like fan organizers or like people to like admire and do shit like that like no it's just like there's nothing wrong with like not achieving like godhood
I mean,
there's comfort in being just a normal person.
I mean, you look at the heroes. You look at the big heroes out there. Who were the people who guided that person to become the hero that they are today? Who were the people who pushed them in the right direction? Who were the people who kept them from going astray? Who were the people who kept them in line? The world needs, and I mean desperately needs, people like that to keep those future heroes, success stories. People are needed to help keep them in line, to keep them from becoming a greedy asshole or from not caring about other people, or once they get to the top, looking down on everybody else. Even if you're a big success, it doesn't give you the right to look down on anybody else because at one point you were at that same stage in your life.
Well, like to kind of go off of that, just like the idea of like like you have people who guide to success. It's like like with Mike Tyson, everyone reveres him as like like the knockout king, which he rightfully is. But like people are like, oh well, like his coach never got that many knockouts. It's like, yeah, he never got that many knockouts because he was too busy training Mike Tyson to like perform all the knockouts. Like I mean,
Right.
not every hero has to be like in the limelight. Some people are like moving shit. Like most of the greatest shit that happens in history, is done by people who were not really that famous, were not really like that inspirational. They were just people who just did shit, and it kind of like skyrocketed. Like I want to say an example of that is like, it's fucking like Steve Jobs. Like he was a dude who was working out of a fucking like garage with a bunch of people for like pennies on the dollar, and like he managed to like turn it into a big corporation. But you also recognize like, there's a bunch of other people who are doing that famous stuff, who are making those like visions possible. Like, again, like not every hero has to be, like center stage and the light directed on them. Like, they could just be people who are like behind the scenes pushing it. Like, especially for like a movie, it's like you look at all the actors who are performing, and I mean, yeah, they're good, but you don't recognize like the movie being as great at what it is because you don't have that person behind the camera rolling, making sure the shots are angled, or you don't have that person who's doing pristine lighting to make it seem more dramatic, or like the music direction, or like just anything. Like you have those people who are like collectively make shit good, not just one person is there doing it.
Yeah, like kind of jumping off that same thing. You have the movie. Just because you've got the actor who is the center of attention or whatnot, that actor is nobody without everybody else around them doing their part.
Yeah. I think that's just it. People forget like there's a process and you are part of that process. Like you might like play a face value, but you also might play a mechanical value. Like you all collectively create something. Like even in sports, like the athletes are there and they're doing the performance, like they're doing it, giving it their all. But at the same time, it's like it's nothing without the announcers, like giving you the play-by-play. It's nothing without like the coaches, like directing and coordinating everything. It's nothing without like like the teleprompters, like like making sure everyone's kept up to date. Like I mean, it's just a bunch of dudes running around a court or running on a field.
I mean, who are the ones making sure those athletes stay healthy? Who are the ones making sure those athletes eat the right things? Who are the ones making sure that athlete is in peak condition for those games?
Or even to get even lower, who's like the security guard there making sure none of them get shot by like some crazy asshole?
Yeah. Like who? When you walk into a stadium, who's the person who makes sure that you're not sitting in somebody else's moldy popcorn from a week ago?
Yeah.
Like who's the one who is helping to now, let's be honest, the prices at the stadiums are freaking astronomical, but who's the one making sure that you have something to eat while you're there?
Yeah.
Who are the ones making sure that that field looks absolutely pristine?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of jobs out there that might not seem like glory jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you might actually be playing a part in creating that glory.
Not even just that. It's just like in simple shit. Like, like even a janitor, like viewed as like the very lowest of low in terms of jobs, is like I still appreciate a janitor. Like I've been a janitor. I appreciate like the fact that someone comes in and cleans this shitty toilet, because if I have to take a shit, I praise the dude who bothered to clean it and scrub it and make sure toilet paper's stuck in there. Like I praise a person who actually cares enough to do that.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like you don't have to like. I'm not saying anyone should like get their ass kissed for what they do, but it's like the work that you do is meaningful in some way, like even at the lowest. Like as long as you're like scrubbing the toilets and you're making sure toilet paper's there, if you're making popcorn or you're making shit, like you're being useful, and your work has a point to it. Like there's a reason why you're here doing this job and getting paid for it. Like it serves a purpose.
Like I remember in high school, people used to give our janitors the biggest hassle for no damn reason. Like I remember walking into one of the bathrooms there toward the bus exit. You know which one I'm talking about, right? First floor.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember walking into that one as I was heading out to get on my bus, and 2 of the 5 stalls was just absolutely ruined, where somebody had taken the toilet paper, wadded it up, not even ripping it, but throwing it in the toilet and then flushing it, and then where the toilet paper just gets pulled.
Yeah.
and it was
Just
like it was just a mess all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, you're a fucking teenager. You don't give a shit. You just think it's funny in the moment because, I don't have to do it. But, it's a very different thing when you're actually in that situation and you actually are the one who has to deal with that. Like, I didn't used to think, like, like, oh, it was a big deal to clean out shit until I actually did become a janitor and I realized, like, oh, man, I feel so bad for everything that I did when I pissed all over the toilet seat just to be a dickhead.
Yeah.
Like, you just get that, you just have that disconnect. Like, you just don't care until you're the one actually doing it and then you realize it.
Yeah, then you feel like the lowest piece of shit on the planet.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But
like there was a couple times where even when I was in I was a band nerd, so
yeah.
we would go to, or we would be coming back from a competition, and I can't tell you how amazing it was just to be able to walk into a bathroom that you knew was going to be clean. Because when you're out at a competition and the only bathrooms you got is either A, a porta john, or B, a stadium bathroom,
Yeah.
you will kiss the person's feet for cleaning a bathroom when you get back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially after a
'Cause that's what-
16-hour day.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of them things of like, I just feel like people kind of get like a little too high and mighty, but a lot of other people also just kind of get down to the dumps of like, what I'm doing is like, I have no purpose. I have no reason for doing this. This sucks. It's like, well, it depends on how you look at it. Like, I'm a person who's like a half glass, half full kind of person. Like, I never look at like what I'm doing as useless, unless like it just literally is achieving no results. Then yeah, but it's like that. If like you're literally like about to shit your pants, you're running to the bathroom and you immediately open up to a stall that is pristine, cleaned, and prepped, then it's a lot more enjoyable than you walk in and the toilet's clogged, there's shit all over the rim of the toilet seat, and there's no toilet paper. Like, I mean, what you do does kind of have somewhat of an impact on someone's life.
It
at
really,
some point.
really does. Really does.
Yeah.
I remember what I was gonna say earlier before we went on your tangent.
Yeah.
But you don't realize how much athletes get catered to.
Oh, absolutely.
Until you get into college. Now, again, I'm not bashing college athletes. I'm not bashing that at all. All I'm saying is that if you are a college athlete, there is a certain amount of catering that is given toward you versus a student who is not an athlete.
Oh, absolutely, because you got to remember, this is America. This is football, baby. Football makes money. Football is a national pastime. That's more important than, like getting a C in chemistry and not being able to play ball. Like, I mean, obviously there has to be some workarounds. You got to put your college on the map. You got to go to the tournaments. You got to go to the playoffs, baby.
I mean, it's not even just football. Like here at my college, if you play football, basketball, golf, swimming, tennis, etc., you will get catered to a lot better than somebody who is not an athlete. And
of course, because again, it's all about the money.
Oh yeah, there are professors who will bend over backwards for a college athlete.
Yeah, money.
But I mean, you put a college athlete in the same situation. Like let's say for example, a college athlete. Let's say they have an emergency at home. They won't be able to come to class the next day. Professor will say, "No worries. I'll send you the assignments, and you can have it done and just have it done for me when you get back." You put a non-college athlete or a non-athlete in that same predicament, and I'm speaking from experience on this. They will say, "Well, just try to catch up on what you missed, and we'll see if we can figure things out when you get back." And the only reason why I know that is because I happen to be friends with the person who was put in that same situation as me. Same professor, but two completely different outcomes. Just because I was not a college athlete. So it's definitely it's disturbing, and in a way I kind of see it as unfair as well.
I mean,
Especially
yeah,
in an environment where everybody is supposed to be on equal terms.
no. Like you're absolutely right. It's unfair, but being in a college is no different than being in a high school. College is just a business. Like they're just allowed to do kind of like whatever the fuck they
Oh,
want because
you're absolutely right.
at the end of the day, it's money. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, that college athlete gets catered to because you know why? They need to have a good sports program. You know why? Because it gets eyes on them. It gets people to come in and because oh, the school has a good sports program or it gets people to like come in and like pick up someone for like, a team or something because there's money involved. When it comes to like doing like, like especially schools because I know there was that whole thing about like colleges were getting like lit up because like they basically like found evidence that like surprise surprise like people were paying money for good grades and people were paying just to get into like a school just so they can have that on their resume or like their record like oh you went here so like oh doors open up or you got catered to because of this and blah blah blah. I mean it's just like of course because I mean at the end of the day like colleges are not like these like things of like places of higher learning. They're just there to make you look good. They're there as businesses. If you contribute to it, great. If you're just there because you're paying to be there, okay, cool. But they're gonna cater to what makes the money. I mean, it's no different than how Disney is gonna like listen to fans and get rid of something because it's like offensive or perceptively racist. Because at the end of the day, they're a business. They're gonna do whatever it takes to get money and please everybody. And it's sad because like you said, colleges should be where you're treated as an intellectual equal towards everybody, but you're never going to get that because there's just too much money involved to like do that.
Yeah, like I my grandfather would always tell me about how colleges, yeah, it used to be a big deal to go to college, and and to a degree, it still kind of is. But I mean, you would go and you would be judged on your characteristics as a intellectual. People didn't you know people didn't care about various little petty things,
Yeah.
but for more or less everybody was put on an equal footing as far as education. So like an athlete didn't have advantages over a non-athlete, or a music major didn't have advantages over a biology major. It was you were there to study your field, and you were there to better yourself. But now, over time, like you said, colleges have been focusing on running themselves as a business, doing whatever they can to make the most money, and it's sad
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that just lessens the impact of what you're there to get in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that is like the problem with just kind of America in general. Like I think the college system is a perfect reflection on like an issue that's in America is that like you said, college used to be the place where you came and there was a universal understanding that we're all here to better ourselves. We're all here to get a higher education so that we can achieve greater things. But now it's much like the rest of America. We're here to open up doors and get ahead in life and get advantages that other people don't have. That's all it is. We're here to so that we can make money and get influence and do other stuff. That's all it is. There's never this idea of like improving yourself intellectually or socially. It's all about we're here so that we can open up doors. That's all it is.
Now, I won't say that all colleges are like that because
No, oh no, 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 not like everyone. But I'm just saying in general, in the idea of business, and especially like like a lot of colleges are just like very. It's very clear, like like when I think of it, I think of like big colleges like Stanford, Yale. Like obviously there are great places of learning, but people are there because it looks good. It looks good that you went to Stanford. It looks good that you went to Yale. You probably got the same education as probably here in UNC Charlotte or anywhere, but the fact that you went to like this prestigious academy, it just looks good and it opens up doors for you. That's really all it is. It's just you're pitching like a brand more than you are the idea of a higher education.
Yeah, but I mean, there. So like, we got a family friend. He's actually responsible for starting a program, or it started off as a program, but now it's actually turned into an actual school. It's a charter school, but the way that they do things is they're not necessarily for profit, but they do profit some in order to better the facilities instead of lining their own pockets. And what's also unique about it is that this particular school caters to people like you or myself who have learning disabilities or are run into different types of mental situations that they can't necessarily control, that would put them in a difficult situation at a different at like a public school. So like for example, a bunch of public schools are catered to book learning. You're basically, you read a chapter, you regurgitate the information, you're tested on the information, and then you never see it again. Whereas with this, they make it more interactive. They make it more hands-on. They make it stick in your mind more, to where it makes it more relevant. It makes it more impactful. It makes it to where you can actually see where this is useful information that you could correlate to your everyday life in the future. And by doing that, by offering different ways of learning and different methods, it actually caters to people who have a more difficult time learning from, say, a book. Like for myself, I can't learn by sitting there and reading. Just like, if I sit there and I read a book, I don't remember like 75% of what I read. But if you take that same information and you give it to me hands-on, you show me how it's done, you show me how it applies, you show me like you where I can either A, physically work with it, or B, actually see it and see how it works. That sticks with me. Like there's stuff that I learned that way back in high school,
and that's the
that I still remember today.
I just think that's the way that education should be, because taking something and applying it will always be more effective than taking it and memorizing to regurgitate it. Because what's the point of learning something if it literally has no purpose? If you take the information that you're giving to a person and you allow them to apply it and let it stick and show them why it's useful, I think that is just a tremendous leap from what we're doing right now.
I 100% agree with you, my dude.
Like,
100% agree.
like, because it's like going back to, it's like, like I don't mind doing schoolwork, but like I'm not good at it because like I don't see a point in just sitting down memorizing shit just so I can regurgitate it onto something and never use it again. Like, I mean, of course it's like, oh well, you take a review and like you review everything that you've learned through the whole semester. It's like, yeah, you do, but at the same time it's like, this is also information that I don't need. This is stuff that, like, if we're gonna be like take the entire semester to learn other stuff after we get done with this, like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just like, I just feel like in a way, like the way that you could just restructure school is that like after you get done with like elementary school, you learn your basic stuff. Middle school and high school should be like college in the sense of where you get to pick out like what interests you. It gets like, instead of trying to like shotgun blast you with everything and hope something sticks, you actually get to direct the person into like something that they're interested in and, kind of do trial and error from it. It's like, well, you didn't like this, so how about we put you in this? Oh, you really like this? Okay, well, let's take a more advanced version of this and kind of like, direct you to something. Because like I think that's the problem, is like kids don't know what they want to do nowadays. Is because like they try to pit everything against you, and kids learn nothing because you cast a broader net, you're sadly going to turn up a lot less results rather than you fish in like, a concentrated area where you're interested in, and you're going to turn up a lot more opportunities there.
Yeah, I agree. I
But
agree with you on that.
we're never going to get that for the sole reason of that sounds expensive.
That sounds expensive, and
Ineffective.
when in reality
Ineffective,
it's
expensive, and quite frankly, really time consuming. Even though that's probably a much more effective way than the way that we're doing it now.
and I would argue in the long run it would actually either A, pay for itself, or B, be more beneficial than anything else.
Yeah, it would, but in the current state, that's never gonna happen.
I mean, hell, kind of going back to blue collar jobs for a minute. Um, did you know it costs like $55 just to get a plumber to come out there and see what the problem is?
Not even that, like you could set your own rate. You could just be a dickhead and be like, "Oh, it's gonna be $100 for me to come out because like I feel like I'm worth that." Like that's the thing about plumbers is like you could just set your own rate. Like you basically control your own market for how you like prompt yourself. If you're good at what you do, you could just be like, "Well, I do a good job, so I mean, you're gonna have to pay extra for me." You can
Yeah.
set your own rates. Like
Like if you're
that's the best part about it.
if you're confident and you don't have a bunch of issues with your work coming up, then yeah, you can charge
Yeah.
whatever the fuck you want, basically. But I mean, of course,
Yeah.
there does reach a point where people aren't willing to pay for your services anymore, and then you got to back it down. But still, like
Yeah.
my dad, the other day, uh, he called a plumber for a couple issues, and it cost him $85 just to get the guy out there.
Yeah.
And then when it was all said and done, he was looking at like a $500 bill for one visit.
Yeah. I mean,
I
that's
mean-
the way like a lot of people are. That's the way like fucking dentists are too. Like it could just cost you like a fucking ton of money just to sit in a chair and have the dude look at it. And like the dentist, she could just be like, well, yeah, I went ahead and expected it. Here's what's going on. That'll be like $300, please.
Yeah.
It's just you could set your own rates. I mean,
I mean, hell,
there's nothing wrong with blue collar jobs. It's just like I think the problem is like people don't like the idea of manual labor, and for good and bad reasons. Like it's not bad to do manual labor, but I think for long term it's not ideal because you're gonna get older and can't do as much and probably gonna slip from the cracks. But I mean if you're good at what you do and you're smart, you could just move up to like management positions and do other shit.
I mean, in hell, like I'm not sure if you remember the Crows from high school or not. They may have been gone by the time you guys were kind of moving up. But
What class were they?
so the older brother was okay. So you probably didn't know the older brother because he was 1 year ahead of me, but the younger brother might actually been in the same class as you guys.
2016? Did you graduate?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. If you say he sounds really familiar. If you said a picture to me, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that guy." But
Probably.
nothing's ringing a bell right now.
I do know that he had long hair for a while, and then shaved it when his brother did. Drove around in a Corvette, or no, not a Corvette, a Camaro, yellow Camaro.
Were they like metalheads?
No, not really. I will say that he was a band nerd like myself, but drumline.
I think I know who you're talking about. I have an image in my mind of who, but yeah, like I kind of vaguely knew the dude.
Well, the older brother, right out of high school, started his own plumbing company, and about 2 or 3 years afterwards, he was already out of doing most of the manual labor. Now he still had his own manual labor here and there because, he would typically handle the bigger jobs, the ones that he wanted to make sure were done right. But for the most part, he was done with manual labor and had like 4 or 5 people working under him as employees who would go out and take out various contracts, and was making good money. Good money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
right out of high school, 4 years down the road, the man was already making 6 figures.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of money in fucking blue collar jobs. Being an electrician, be a contractor, like that's the biggest thing that I think people have the hang up with is like, oh, it's manual labor. It's like, yeah, but you know, it's good, honest work, and you make a damn good paycheck with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Now, the only blue collar job that I've actually seen a diminishing returns on has actually been mechanic work.
Yeah,
And I say that because my uncle does mechanic work, and what he's started to have to do now is he's actually had to start doing what's called rat rod creation. So basically, what he'll do is he'll go out and he'll find an old clunker, one that's basically falling apart, and he'll buy that clunker off of somebody for like maybe $1,200. He'll have it loaded up onto his flatbed trailer, and haul it back to his shop, and he'll basically gut it, put a new engine in it, or if he can salvage the engine, he'll salvage as much as he can. So he'll either A, put a new engine in it, or he'll B, reconstruct the engine, and then he'll basically put like he'll sand it down as best he can, put a clear coat of paint on it to where you can see all that rust still coming through, but it's still protected by that clear coat.
yeah,
Guts the inside, put some new stuff in, and then turns around and resells it for $5 or $6 grand, and then makes about $1 or $2 grand in profit.
yeah. I think the biggest the way that mechanics get screwed over because I was talking to a dude about it. A big way that they just get screwed over is like when they have to order parts from like distributors. Distributors get basically like are also in the same game. They could just kind of charge whatever the fuck they want because it's like, oh, you want this obscure part for this car that they're not making anymore? I can get it for you, but it's just going to cost you like triple the market value for it because it's just hard to get. And like that's kind of how they get screwed over. They're just like they're basically having to play the market just as much as everybody else is.
And then you run into companies like I personally have a Jeep right now. So you've got like you remember that issue I was having with my ABS sensor?
Yeah, you were telling me about that a while back. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was happening was I would be stopped at a stoplight, and I'd go to hit the gas, but it would trip my ABS sensor. So when I'd go to hit the gas, my engine would start, and then it's like my engine would start to stall until the ABS kicked back off, and it was kind of like a start-stop motion until finally I would let off the gas just enough to allow it to keep moving forward, and then once I built up speed, it was fine. But I mean, that shit was dangerous because it happened to me a couple times when I was on the interstate, and I just about wrecked. But I tried to put I took it to my dad's shop, and his assistant manager took a look at it, and we just ordered an ABS sensor from Advanced Auto Parts down the road, and it worked for a little while, but then it started up again. Well, come to find out, with companies like Jeep, or their sensors, like their brand of sensors, actually have a bit of code written into them that registers with the car's computer. So if you go and let's say you're trying to fix the ABS sensor on your own, like I was, and you don't get a Jeep specific part where they control the price of it, then you're gonna run into the same issue because the computer is only going to confirm it for a certain amount of time. But ever since I put that Jeep ABS sensor in there, I haven't had the issue.
Yeah, I remember like there was kind of like that same issue. Like, did Jake ever tell you about that whole thing about like farmers like hacking like their tractors and shit like that?
No.
So you know like how like that big farming equipment is like really expensive and like you know like there's a lot of maintenance and shit you got to do on it.
Yeah.
So due to a lot of branding and a lot of contracts, since like those machines are like you know like so expensive and like you know like really like hard to maintain, what they do apparently, and I'm probably gonna get this wrong. You probably have to ask Jake or like ask like someone who's like kind of like more equipped with that. But the way that I understood it is, they basically like they make a contract with you like, hey, if you buy this from us, like we will essentially give you like lifetime maintenance and everything. But here's the problem: is that with lifetime maintenance also comes like those lifetime fees. Like as long as you have this machine, you can only get us to come out and do it because, you know, this is our brand. We know how to work on it. We have certified mechanics and technicians to do on it, right? So another thing about it is when a machine kind of needs maintenance, they have it programmed in the computers where it basically just won't like it won't work. It's like it needs maintenance now. It could be dangerous, blah blah blah. And this is hard for farmers because, you know, time is money. You know, like they don't have all the time in the world just like wait around for like some dude to just like come out and take a look and say like, oh well, you know, you got to get this part. It's good for right now, but we need to get this part to make sure like you know, it's like up to code and up to specifications.
So the tractor
So what they've
literally just wouldn't move, like it just won't work.
Like I think the longer the extent of it is like this it stops because it tells you like this machine is not up to code or it's not up to like service, like, you know, like basically like saying like, hey, something could go wrong and there could be devastating like events with it. You know, it's like the idea of like this is a big machine that takes like a lot of effort to do something, and the smallest of things could like, you know, kind of hurt it and, you know, be more severe in the long run for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what they did is like a lot of farmers have gotten to the point where they're like hacking like the computer systems and the tractors and basically getting it to where they can run the maintenance on themselves. Because like one dude was talking like, I'm a fully certified mechanic. I know how to fix these machines in and out, but I can't mess with them and I can't edit them or I can't repair them because I'm not certified to do it. I have the contract in there that says like, you know, like you can't maintenance it. You have to get us to do it because it's our brand. And so like what they're doing is they're just hacking into the computer systems to where they can maintenance, they can run the diagnostics on it, and they can get it up to code because, you know, they don't have the time to just sit around and like wait for a company to come out at their leisure to fix their machine, you know, when they got crops to harvest and, you know, they got a deadline to meet.
Right.
And there's been this whole thing about like just allowing people like, hey, if I buy this machine, I should have full right to like, you know, do with it I see fit. Like, you know, like in the same vein of like, if I buy a car, I can treat it how I see fit. If I want to treat it like an old clunker, I'll treat it like an old clunker. If I want to treat it like, you know, it's a pristine thing, I'll treat it like a pristine thing. And there's been a lot of pushback because of, you know, like this kind of applies to a lot of companies like Apple. Like people can like alter Apple and they can like have like people kind of like run copies of like their diagnostics or their computer chips and kind of get out with that. But it's kind of hurting people like these farmers because like they're just trying to do their jobs and like they're kind of being held up because, you know, they have to like adhere to like, you know, a brand wanting to make sure that they do maintenance on their own stuff, which is kind of, I don't know, that's kind of a little clunky to me.
I mean, that, in my opinion, that's actually one of the most stupid things you could do because you are literally hindering the work of one of the most important people in a country.
Yeah,
like,
and my thing is like,
people give farmers a lot of shit, but farmers are one of the most important people to any fucking country. I don't care who you are.
yeah, most everything that you buy in a fucking store comes from them. That kind of says like something to the food chain supply of like America.
Yeah, and not just America, like fucking overseas as well. Like you got,
but like the people,
you've got farmers who, if they don't meet their deadlines, it impacts most of their country. Like,
yeah.
let's say you got probably 5 farmers who each have large amounts of fields, and we'll put the scenario overseas for a minute. The amount of land that they have over there for farming isn't as big as America. I mean that's just mainly because America is a huge farming industry. But that food that they have over there that's being harvested will feed their towns and cities for like months. If you hinder their work to where they can't get that harvest done, you are literally harming the food supply of a city, a town, like
yeah,
for
like
months.
I'll actually like send you the video of it, but I just like I can you know you kind of sympathize with like the farmers a lot because it's like, you know, if you buy this machine or you have it like basically paid in full or you're financing it, like you should be able to do what you want with it. Like people said, like if you buy a car, if you want to treat it like shit, you're well within your right to do so because you bought it and you paid for it. Like you bought the thing in full, so why the hell can you not like work on it? Why the hell can you not like, you know, put your own paint job on it or like trade out the rims or like do maintenance on the engine? Like you bought it, it's yours. Like I don't see like the whole holdup with like like you have to do this, and I understand like they're trying to protect their brand, they're trying to protect like like how they make their stuff. It's like I agree with that, but it's like these people aren't trying to like steal your they're not trying to steal like like the layout of your machine. They're trying to get like their jobs done. Like it's different for like a scalper who's trying to like like take everything out of an iPhone and they're trying to like basically make their own carbon copies and cheap shit and scalp off other people. But it's just a fucking farmer. They're just trying to make sure their potatoes are good and like everyone's getting their produce. Like they're not like these vicious criminals are trying to like run a racket on like like knock off tractors or anything.
I'm not going to bring politics into this TED talk, but you know about the RPM Act that Congress is trying to push through with. It's kind of the same deal in a sense, but RPM Act basically states that you will not be able to modify your vehicle that you own. It has to be stock.
That's
Yeah,
that's just unfair. Like
I'm not gonna go into it any further. If anybody's curious on it, they can look it up for themselves and read up on it. But it's on the floor right now. It's in Congress. It's got a lot of people pissed off right now. But yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, like if you buy something, especially something as big as like a farming tractor, it is yours. You should have the right to do whatever the heck you want to it. If you break it, that's on you. But if you have the know-how to fix it and you want to fix it, you better damn well be able to fix it.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I'm trying to steer away from politics too. So I don't know. Let's pitch something different. Let's talk about something a little bit more lighthearted.
Well, I was talking to you earlier in the.
Give me 1 second. I gotta go do something real quick. All right.
All right.
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry, I had to take a minute to eat dinner with the fam.
Nah, no worries. I kept the recording going.
All right.
So I'll just edit this out.
Fuck. What were we talking about? Oh, that's right. Just coming up with another topic to talk about.
Oh yeah. So I know you said in the recording that, or in the previous recording, for those of you watching, this is the TED Talk, I guess you'd say. Or no, not. I guess this wouldn't really be a TED Talk. This is kind of be more of a.
This isn't even a TED Talk. We're just shooting the shit.
Yeah, this is just chatting. But for those of y'all who aren't aware, basically what I'm going to be doing is every time I have we have a recording or whatnot, every now and again we'll have we'll kind of have just like a chatting session afterwards. So you can enjoy the game and the gameplay for what it is, and then if you want to just hear and come by, hear us chat. Sometimes it'll be me and Dylan. Sometimes we might have other people involved as well. You never know. But anyway, I know in the previous video, you were talking about how you kind of lost interest, or you felt like you were kind of losing interest in the Dying Light game.
Yeah, it's just like I've just kind of noticed, like as time has gone on, I've been paying attention to it less and less. Like I've been keeping less and less with developer logs and trailers and stuff like that. Like I like Dying Light. It's just I don't know. Like I just haven't had like a super big interest. But I'm also kind of chopping that up to the fact that I just haven't been in a super gaming mood of like the last few weeks. I just kind of haven't really focused too much on video games as a whole.
No, I get that, man. I've kind of been in a similar boat here recently. I've been wanting to do more recordings and get stuff put out there, but with the whole rebranding, and then got the stress of classes on top of that. I've kind of mainly just been like watching more YouTube than I've been recording for YouTube. Funny enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing that. Also, I'm just kind of working on other stuff that's just I find more interesting. Like I've been painting minis. I've been working on a side thing and just kind of getting shit done around the house. I mean, you just kind of like find more solace in it. I mean, it's just there hasn't really been a game recently that I've been like, oh, I really want to play that, or ooh, I really want to get back to that. Like, I haven't even jumped back on playing Village yet. Like, I got like got to like the third area, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll set this down, and that was
I
like
thought I thought
3
you
weeks
finished
ago.
Village.
No, I didn't. I got like I'm not sure how far I am, but like I've I'm at like I want to say like the third area, like without giving like any spoilers away. I'm at like the swamp area,
Oh, okay.
and I haven't picked back up on it yet.
And for those of you who are a bit confused, he's talking about Resident Evil Village.
The village, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, just
I thought you were so excited for that game. I thought you were gonna blaze through it in like a week.
no, like I mean, I like the game and like I'm really into it. It's just I don't know, like I just haven't been super into video games as of late. Like I mean, I still like the game and like when I was playing it, I was having a blast with it. But again, just just haven't been in that mood of like I'm gonna sit down and play. I just think it's just like between like school and other stuff, it's just like I don't really like want to get invested in it because I want to give it my full attention. And I don't feel like I could have like one foot in the door and one foot like not in it.
No, I get it. Like
Yeah.
I've kind of been debating on whether or not I want to start a Rimworld, uh, kind of a campaign of Rimworld.
What
Um,
is that?
so you ever played Prison Architect?
No.
Oh God. Okay, so
I play a lot of building
it's
simulation games. Like I'm not super into Minecraft or like any of those other games.
so think of it like this. So with we'll use Prison Architect as an example since it's kind of the same concept, just a little different. Um, so Prison Architect, you've got this top-down view of a map, and you've got prisoners that are coming in. You're responsible for those prisoners. You've got to give them food, place to live. You got to provide accurate security and whatnot. And it's like two-dimensional. It's like two-dimensional characters and whatnot, and then you're just kind of like in God view. But you can build with resources that you collect. You gotta provide power, things like that. It's basically it's a resource management, but it's also a city builder at the same time.
Right.
Which I'm actually kind of surprised you don't like those kind of games. I thought that'd be right up your alley with as much as you like the DM and stuff. But RimWorld takes a similar principle, only your people are on an alien world, or supposed to be like an alien world, and you have to survive. So you've got to build them shelter. You've got to help them provide food. You've got to have defenses, because there are friendly locals, and then there's also hostile locals as well. So like, this is basically it's a pre-inhabited world, but you just don't know what faction is going to come and visit you. You don't know if you're going to get friendlies or if you're going to get hostiles. But the amount of stuff you can do in that game is actually pretty nuts. Like you could make, if you wanted to, you could make your entire colony cannibalists. If you wanted to, you could capture other people who visit your camp, and I mean, you can even like harvest their organs. I mean, it's bad, but you can do that kind of stuff. Like the possibilities on how you run your settlement are endless, and it's. I
Alright.
will say this: the past couple times I've tried to play it, I have died, and I have died in very aggravating ways. But it's always a way that I know where I messed up, and so the next time I play it, I know, okay, so I need to do this so that this doesn't happen next time. But it's a lot of fun. There's another one that's it's also two-dimensional, but it's more of a platformer view, and it's called Oxygen Not Included.
Hmm.
That's another fun one. And I've thought about doing a series on that. Um, Once I get a little bit of money, my ass is definitely buying Stellaris because I love Stellaris, and I know for a fact I'm going to be doing a series on that. So for any of y'all listening who in the future, if you see my Stellaris series, you can see where I'm having fun. But I'm also trying to look out for more games for me to play with others, such as yourself or anybody else who or any more of my friends who have Steam and want to come on and stream with me or do a recording session with me. Because I mean I can only be so funny by myself. I have more fun when I'm playing with you guys.
Yeah, there's just more like personalities to bounce off of and do stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, I mean, having a good conversation going is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm just like also just trying to like look at a game that I actually want to get invested into for the foreseeable future because like I'm just gonna be honest, like there just haven't been really any games that have kind of like grabbed me, being like, oh yeah, I really want to play that.
Well, what are some multiplayer games that you've really enjoyed in the past? Like, what's some of your favorites?
See, that's the thing. I don't really play a lot of multiplayer games. I kind of just do like solo stuff. I just like stuff with like, like a story or a lot of free roam. Like, I mean, most of what I play is like games that I go back and play. I play like Skyrim or Fallout or like I'll do Resident Evil or it's like some other stuff, but or like Dark Souls, but it's just because like there's a big story I can get invested into, or there's just like like this big free roaming world that I can just go around and kind of do whatever the hell I want. Like
No,
I think the
I
only
get that. I get that.
I think the only games I'm really excited for is like I know Elden Ring's coming out like in July or January, and I know Baldur's Gate comes out October 6th.
Dude, I do want to do the. I want to record the demo of Baldur's Gate with you.
Yeah, is it like, is there a price on the demo?
No, demos are free.
Really...
Demos are free.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want, we could just download the demo and play it one day. Because I mean, it looks fun. Like I've played the other games by that developer Larian. I played the Divinity games, and like they're fun. Like they're just like so open and just like, I think like they're the only company that I would trust to do like a D&D game because like you can just kind of do whatever the hell you want, and it's in a format that I feel like just fits.
Now there was a game that I sent you a couple months ago. I'll have to find it again if you don't still have it. But I sent it to you and Jake specifically because it's basically a game where you, Dylan, as a DM, or Jake as a DM, since you two are the more experienced in our group, would basically have anything you can think of at your disposal to create a campaign from. Like you can create a three-dimensional campaign for us as characters. So like even if we weren't able to meet up together, we could still log in and have our session through this, and we could stream it for everybody else, anybody who was watching.
I'm trying to think. Are you talking about that Tailspire thing where it's just like a 3D tabletop kind of simulator for like maps and stuff?
Oh no! It's an actual like world builder. I'll have to find it again, but basically you could create your basically anything that you would put down on the table or draw out. You could actually just create. So you could actually create the atmosphere. You could create the feeling. You could create the sound effects. All that stuff that you can think of. They have a massive library of stuff that you can pick from, and you can just you can create it.
It sounds interesting. I'd definitely like look into it. I know that like we also kind of keep bringing it up, like the idea of like actually streaming one of our games, and I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on that whole idea just because like of how like personal like our games. They're not like like super engaging, but like I don't know, it's just like I kind of back and forth with between like well, kind of, I want to keep the essence of the game just kind of being for us, but at the same time, it's like I feel like they're just moments that like people would enjoy seeing us like.
So here's my.
Like,
I agree with you on that, and I see where you're coming from. But my whole thing is like, I feel like it would be best if we actually have like one spot that we could designate as like our meeting spot. Like for example, when school is all said and done,
yeah.
If I am able to get one of those condos like I'm wanting to, the condo that I'm wanting actually has a room that we could set up and designate as the D&D as our D&D room, but also as a recording studio as well. So that way, we could sit there and just play our game, but we could be recording at the same time and just let things happen organically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also just look at it in the aspect of, again, going back to the idea of, like, the preservation of the game. Like, like, just, like, the memes that have kind of come out of, like, some of our games. Like, you weren't even there for, like, one of the biggest games of, like, the whole P4! And, like, you still fucking find that hilarious. It's like, like, that's an experience I would like to share with people, but it's also the same point of, like, where does it kind of tread that line of like we're doing this for other people and we're doing this because we want to do it,
Oh well, no. Like just because like if we're recording and we're just posting it doesn't mean that we have to adhere to the whims of everybody else, because that would be one of our portions of that's us, that's our thing, we're gonna have fun with it, and if people want to have fun watching, they can have fun watching, but if not,
no,
they don't have to watch it.
I totally get that. It's just like the idea of like I just don't ever want to like the game to feel like an obligation, more or less.
Oh
That's
yeah, no. Like, I mean, it wouldn't. Basically, those types of things, it wouldn't be something that we would put on a timeline.
Yeah.
So like, if we run into issues or whatnot, to where we can't necessarily meet for a session or whatnot, okay, fine, then we're good.
Yeah.
But whenever the next one posts, I'm definitely going to put an alert out and say, hey everybody, we just posted our latest D&D session if you guys want to come and watch.
Yeah. I don't know, it's still like a lot. It's just a very raw idea right now, so I mean, I don't know like what we would do. I feel like you'd still have to sit on it for a little bit longer before like I feel like anyone could really put a pin of like, yeah, let's do it, or let's do it here, and this is what we would probably do with it. This is the type of story we'd run.
Yeah.
And just a time slot that we could fill for everybody to participate.
And again, that's something that we enjoy doing. It's something that we would be doing for our fun. But
yeah,
if we record it and we want to post it, okay, somebody else can watch it too. Doesn't mean we have to change what we're doing.
Yeah.
But the whole reason why I brought up. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just gonna ask like an off question.
I was just gonna say that the whole reason why I brought up the other one, the actual like game one, is because if we did decide to run a campaign through that, we would be experiencing the story in a 3-dimensional aspect as well. So it would give a whole nother vibe. It would add a whole nother measure of intensity and fun to it. No, don't get me wrong. I have a blast whenever we meet up and we do a D&D session. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
I get that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it just adds another layer to it that would be really cool. And
oh no, absolutely. I would love to do it.
If we did that, we could, and decided to record it. It gives people that that other layer to watch and experience it as well.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing to me is like I would totally do it, just the aspect of like, because I'm not the best at describing a lot of stuff, sadly. Like as long as I've been doing that, I've still haven't like shown a lot of improvement in like mood setting and stuff. But if I could display the idea that I have in like a format like that where it's more immersive and it's more like impactful, I would absolutely do that.
Definitely. I'm gonna see if I can find it whenever. We'll see if I can find it later on. I'll send it to you, and maybe you and I both can start delving into it and get our hands on it, because that's part of the thing I've had a tough time with. If I ever want to DM, I'm atmosphere and whatnot. I like to create the experience. I like to be able to showcase it. I'm not the best at description.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I thought that it was something that even I could be able to do.
Yeah.
So that I'll see if I can find it again. And I'll send it to you guys. But it looks really cool, and I really hope it's as cool as it showcases itself.
Yeah, I'd definitely be willing to try it. The off question I was going to ask is like when we actually do get to play like one of the campaigns that we're doing, who is up next on the roster? Because I think Jake has already done his, so I think next up is Nikki for her thing. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so this week I think we decided that we were just going to do that one shot.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks from now we'll do Nikki's Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And guys, if anybody watching, if you've made it this far into the video, first of all, congratulations, you've put up with our bullshit this long.
They knew what they were getting into.
Did they though? Did they?
Yeah, they did.
But I mean, if you guys got any opinions or whatnot of whether you'd be interested in listening to or watching, one of our campaigns or whatnot, by all means, leave a comment. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know. I enjoy feedback. It gives me an idea of what you guys would enjoy as well. But again, Dylan, just because we have people who say, yeah, I'd love to see it, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to change anything.
Oh no, like I understand that. It's just the aspect that I was talking about was I enjoy doing these games, but I stop enjoying them immediately when I feel like I have to do it. Like if it feels like an obligation to me, or I see it's an obligation to other people, that's when it stops becoming fun to me. And that's what I kind of like want to avoid. Like it's not like what I think other people would say about it or how they feel about it. It's just how I feel about it is kind of what I put the roster at. If like I'm not having fun and it's clear that the people I'm playing with aren't having fun, and we still do it just because it's like, oh, there's an audience to people that really want to see it, and we're just not up for it. That's just like the aspect that is conflicting to me. That's the only reason why I bring that up.
Yeah, no. So I mean, if there's ever a week where we're just not feeling it,
Yeah,
cool, whatever. We'll post it whenever we do feel like it.
Yeah, that's true.
And the best part about it being on YouTube is that if somebody wants to get caught up or get a refresher on, like, let's say it's been a couple, like, let's say we take a hiatus of like a month and we post another one, somebody wants to get a refresher on where we were, guess what? It's on YouTube. Go watch it.
Yeah. All right, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah,
wrap up this perfect little turd we have.
Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Oh wow, we went for almost over an hour on this little talk.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up and take it easy, guys.